Hello everyone, and welcome to Cloud 9 Blessings, the channel that brings dreams, visions, and near-death experiences visually to you. I hope that you are all having a very blessed day. My name is Angela, and I will be the narrator for this video today. My hope is that you will stay with me all the way to the end of this video to receive the messages in their entirety. In this video today, we are going to be experiencing a dream that was emailed in by our dear sister in Christ, Dwana. She shares with the channel about her 10-year-old son's Rapture dream. In the email that she wrote, it says, "Greetings, Amber. I want to share with you a dream that my son Caleb had 2 years ago when he was 10 years old. I have been trying to get him to sit down and write the dream due to how extensive it was. And we have recorded a lot of it as well on our phones to write out at a later date. But at this point, we are going to share what he has written and will continue with a part 2 when he gets the rest finished. But for now, we would like to share with you what God has shown him, and hope and pray that this will reach thousands and hopefully millions of people and give them hope." My son came running into my room as soon as he woke up, in the morning excitedly saying, "Mom, Mom, I just had the best dream ever." It goes like this. My son, myself, his sister, and his dad that I am divorced from were visiting my sister's house about 300 miles from where we live. The home was not the same as it currently is, but it was similar, but just one room larger. He looked out the window and saw a black dragon that had spikes going from its head to its tail. The spikes were blue, and it had more of a square face than normal. It had scales and tinted red eyes. It blew tons and tons of black clouds out of its mouth. He looked at me, and I looked back at him, and he knew it was the Rapture. All of a sudden, a bright light shone through the black clouds, and they departed. The dragon flew away in terror. Jesus came down on a cloud with 7 angels surrounding him, 3 on each side and 1 in the back of him. They each held trumpets and sounded them. It didn't sound like a typical trumpet sound. Together they sounded like a very deep and loud freight ship blowing its horn. He knew the angel in the back was Michael. He ran outside and screamed, "Jesus! Jesus!" He kept screaming his name and started to jump. Jesus pointed at people and they would go up. Finally, he pointed at my son and said, "You tried hard." The next thing that happened was my son was flying up into the air. He looked down and saw his dad, and then he began to slow down as he was looking at his dad. His dad had ran out of the home and was screaming the names of my son and his sister. My son did not want to be left behind, so he looked up and started going really fast. He then blinked and was in heaven on a teleportation device. An angel walked up to him and smiled and said, "You made it, and so did your mother and sister." He looked at the angel and smiled. The angel gave him a type of button to carry that he could press, and it would take him to his mansion from anywhere if he pushed it. My son looked at it and said, "Where is my mom and sister and dad?" He looked down and said, "Your dad didn't make it." Then a tear rolled down my son's cheek. The angel took my son to a huge bounce house in heaven. My son loves to jump on trampolines and anything he can. And the angel said, "There are no tears in heaven." My son bounced for a while, and then he took my son back to where we originally met. He told the angel thank you and started on his way to his mansion by foot. On the way, my son came to a huge banquet table that stretched as far as he could see. There were 2 angels standing at the table, making food. There was something that looked like rainbow squash and white apples. There was a bucket at the end of the table with the ingredients in it, and my son watched for a while and walked over and took a bite of the rainbow squash. It tasted so good that it made him feel like he was floating. It didn't taste like squash, and there is no way to describe the taste. However, it was so delicious. As he was watching, he saw 2 angels put the rainbow squash in a mixture in a bowl and the white apples in another mixture in a bowl and stirred them until they were liquid. One was for white apple cake and one was for rainbow cake. They put a small ball-like object on the cakes and clicked a button on it, and 3 seconds later, it exploded with decorations and frosting on the cakes. Different areas in heaven had different platforms for walking on. This area was literally clouds that we were standing on. He started to walk away from the tables on the clouds towards the mansions and found his. You just know it's your mansion in heaven. In the mansion, there was an awesome mural of racing cars which my son loves. Then he went inside, and there was a really cool racetrack in the house. There was also a huge kitchen. My son loves race cars, and he also loves to cook. On the second floor, he found games. Jesus knows what the children like, even in heaven. At one point, my son was able to see me, his sister, his grandma who has not yet passed away, and my grandma who passed away 15 years ago. He had never met my grandma, but when I showed him a picture of her as a young woman, he said that is what she looks like in heaven. There are a lot more details, but we will have to make a part 2 to finish up, as my son has suffered from headaches and migraines almost daily since he was a little child, and it is difficult to get him to focus on writing and giving details for extended periods of time. Some of the things he also saw was the tree of life. God's throne above paradise, looking down on everyone. My deceased father, his grandpa that he has never met, trees and flowers that would communicate with you. As well as our deceased pet dog. Also, he saw angels teaching flying lessons and other mansions and many more things. So you can see why we will have to make a part 2, and possibly a part 3 to this story. Thank you so much, Amber, for all that you do to bring these dreams and visions to the world. Caleb has also had several other follow-up dreams about heaven and the angel Michael and Jesus as well. We will share those with you as well at a future date. I am sending this now because I know that God has been very patient in waiting for us to share this, and the time is now to get it to the world. Heaven is not a dull place, and it's more than anyone can imagine. God bless you, from your sister in Christ, Duana. Thank you so much, Sister Duana, for sharing your son Caleb's beautiful dream. He gave such beautiful details, along with encouragement. This type of encouragement is very much needed, especially in the wicked world that we currently live in. This gives us all hope that Jesus is coming soon and that we have a lot to look forward to once we go to heaven.